Welcome to Sunny's Mindset Lab podcast. Today we're exploring Not Nice with its author, Aziz Gazipura. This book addresses people-pleasing, staying silent, guilt, fear of conflict, and the deeper psychological patterns that keep people from expressing themselves fully.
Thank you, Sunny. Not Nice is about helping people break free from excessive niceness, build healthy assertiveness, and live with more confidence, honesty, and self-respect.
So I think the most important thing you establish right at the start is, well, it's this cultural assumption that nice is good. And you argue that's fundamentally flawed.
It is, yes. We've all been conditioned to believe that.
Right, that kindness and niceness are the same thing. But your work suggests that the people trying the hardest to be nice are often the most anxious, the most frustrated.
Exactly. They're trapped in a kind of self-imposed cage where they can't be their real selves.
And this is the core distinction you make, isn't it? The opposite of being nice isn't being a jerk.
No, not at all. That's the biggest misunderstanding. The true opposite of being nice in this context is being real.
Real. Meaning what exactly?
Meaning you're direct, you're honest, you're truthful, and that authenticity, that's the only pathway to any kind of genuine, deep connection.
Right.
Because people finally get to meet the person who's actually there.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If things like kindness and generosity are good, what's the root cause you found that makes this excessive niceness so destructive?
It's simple, really. It's fear.
Fear.
A profound, often desperate fear of displeasing other people, of getting that disapproval, or even rejection. It's not a choice. It's an unconscious, automated system.
So you see these patterns, like what? Hesitating?
Yes. Hesitating, overthinking every little thing you say, the excessive smiling and nodding.
Agreeing when you don't really agree.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
All of it is designed to minimize any perceived threat, to just keep things smooth.
So it's basically an anxiety management technique that's just disguised as a personality trait.
That's a perfect way to put it. And the result isn't even that you avoid rejection entirely.
Right. You get what you call polite rejections.
Exactly. An endless string of them. You know the phrase, oh, that sounds so nice, but I'm just so busy for the next, forever.
Right.
And that pattern, it just drained your social power. You start to come across as needy or inauthentic, which ironically is what pushes people away. You end up safe but small.
And that anxiety has to live somewhere inside. Which brings us to this idea of the approval seeker. What is that? What is it trying to do?
The approval seeker is that part of us that just hates conflict.
Mm-hmm.
It wants everything to be smooth, always. And underneath that pattern is a really deep-seated insecurity.
And this ties back to attachment, right?
It does, often to insecure attachment patterns from early life. We might have learned that connection felt conditional.
Like you had to perform to be loved.
Exactly. You had to be what others needed you to be.
Yeah.
So now, as an adult, the approval seeker sees every relationship like a tightrope.
A tightrope. That's a powerful image.
It is. Because it feels like one false move.
Yeah.
You disagree. You're in a bad mood. You say a clear no, and you're just going to fall. That the relationship will be lost.
So what are some specific signs? How can you spot your own approval seeker in action?
Well, the big one is constantly avoiding saying no or speaking less because you're waiting for the perfect right thing to say.
The nervous laughter, too.
Oh, yes, the laughter that comes too quick, too often. Just filling space. Difficulty with endings is another one. And just being overly agreeable. Recognizing it isn't about blame, though. It's the first huge step toward awareness.
Let's shift to the moral side of this. Nice people often suffer from so much guilt. You make a distinction between healthy guilt and what you call the destructive guilt bubble.
Yes, healthy guilt is functional. It's a compass. It tells you when you violated one of your own core values, and it's brief.
Okay, so the guilt bubble is different.
It's completely different. It's like this oppressive atmosphere that surrounds you. It distorts reality. It turns totally neutral events into terrible things you think you've done wrong.
So you end up feeling guilty just for having a need that conflicts with someone else's.
Precisely. And this destructive guilt, it always comes from breaking an unconscious rule. A should.
A should. So an internal rule like I should never say no.
Or I should never allow an awkward silence in a conversation. These rules are run by our inner critic. And the more rules you have, the more restricted your life becomes.
And you have a really practical way to start taking that apart.
Yes. The first step is to just uncover the rules. What are your shoulds about relationships, work, money? Once you see them, you can use what's called the semantic technique.
Which is?
It's deceptively simple. You just replace the word should with prefer.
That's it.
That's it. I should never interrupt because I prefer not to interrupt. Instantly, a toxic demand becomes a choice. It starts to detoxify your relationships from being, these obligation fests into something you actually choose.
That's a powerful shift. So if you're constantly policing yourself with these shoulds,
Mm.
where do all the natural emotions like anger or frustration go?
They get stifled.
Mm-hmm.
They're either suppressed, so pushed down out of awareness, or they're
Understood.
displaced.
Meaning they come out sideways.
Exactly. You're irritable with your partner at home instead of confronting the person at work who actually upset you. And this leads directly to resentment.
And you have a formula for that too, right? For the nice person?
Yes, the resentment formula, it's
Huh?
giving, plus the feeling of having no choice about the matter equals resentment.
So the problem isn't the giving.
No,
Oh.
never. The poison is feeling like you had to, like you were forced by your own rules to say yes when you wanted to say no.
Yeah.
If you can turn no choice into a choice, the act is instantly detoxified.
And this is where it gets really surprising. This repressed emotion doesn't just stay in your head, it can actually cause physical pain.
Absolutely. When an emotion like anger is constantly suppressed, your body's defense system can tag it as a threat.
A threat.
A threat. And this constant internal tension can lead to what's known as psychogenic pain. We see it in things like TMJ, chronic neck pain, IBS, chronic fatigue. The list goes on.
So the body is literally holding on to the anger.
It's creating a protective tension that ultimately causes the suffering. The fear of these negative feelings is what keeps you trapped. The only way out is through.
Okay, so let's say you choose that way out. You stop being passive, but you're terrified of becoming aggressive, of becoming a jerk. What is this assertive middle way?
Assertiveness is that crucial middle ground. It's all based on the core mindset. My needs matter and so do yours.
Okay.
It takes the clarity of action from the aggressive style, but combines it with the consideration for others you see in the passive style. But, and this is the key difference, the assertive person proceeds even if the other person is temporarily upset.
But isn't that just selfish? If I know doing something for myself will upset my partner, how is that different from just not caring?
The difference is in the respect. The aggressive person's mindset is my needs matter more than yours. The passive person's is your needs matter more than mine.
So assertiveness is about holding both as valid.
Yes, you respect both. You proceed with your need respectfully without blame, and you acknowledge their feeling without taking responsibility for it. That's the middle way.
And that clarity allows for a new way of operating, not from fear-based rules, but from a personal Bill of Rights.
Exactly. Instead of shoulds, you create a new list based on core desires. Things like power, the ability to choose your own path,
Yeah.
boldness, and authenticity, the freedom to be you, rough edges and all. People are surprisingly drawn to that. They crave realness.
The fear of hurting someone, though, that feels like the biggest hurdle. How do you get past this debilitating pattern of over-responsibility for everyone else's emotions?
You have to embrace a really bold, liberating claim, which is, you are not responsible for other people's feelings.
That is hard to accept.
It is, because nice people often see themselves these powerful demigods who can crush hearts with a few words. But that's a projection. The truth is, people are strong, they're resilient. That's relationship truth number one.
And number two,
Upset is temporary. Disappointment, anger. These feelings pass. You are only responsible for managing your own actions and your own feelings.
so what's a practical tool someone can use to stop taking on that emotional weight?
The energy bubble visualization is incredibly effective. You simply visualize yourself and your own feelings inside a protective bubble. And you see the other person with their feelings in their own bubble.
Okay.
And you just consciously remind yourself, I'm responsible for what's in my bubble. They're responsible for what's in theirs. It stops you from diving in to fix their distress.
Which means you can actually be more supportive because you're not getting tangled up in their story.
Exactly right.
Right.
You see them as powerful, as the owner of their own life, not as some fragile thing you might break.
Speaking of action, saying no is often the hardest part. How do we actually start implementing boundaries successfully?
We can approach it in stages, what I call the 3 levels of no.
Okay, level 1.
Level 1 is internal. This is the most important step. It's just figuring out for yourself, is this a yes or a no for me? Just getting clear internally.
Then level 2.
Level 2 is external. This is just saying it. Even if it's clumsy, even if it's awkward, the goal here is just action over elegance. Get the word out.
And level 3 is the goal.
Level 3 is the authentic no. Saying it calmly, respectfully, and lovingly, using skillful communication.
What does that skillful communication sound like? How do you explain yourself without groveling.
The key is to focus the explanation on your needs, not on blaming them or making external excuses. So if friends invite you for a whole weekend, instead of making something up, you say
What would you say?
something like, "Thanks so much for the invite. I love spending time with you all, but I find I really need more alone time on weekends to recharge, so I'd love to just come up for Saturday." You're honoring your need and the relationship.
That feels so much cleaner. You also mentioned an apology fast.
Yes. The chronic unnecessary "I'm sorry" is a submission signal. The fast is about, first, just noticing how often you say it for things that require no apology.
Like just walking down a hallway.
Exactly. Then you commit, for maybe 10 days, to eliminating all apologies unless you've done something genuinely wrong. You have to recondition yourself that saying no or just taking up space is not a mistake.
Okay, finally, let's talk about confidence. Niceness is all about avoiding discomfort. So how do you build confidence if the whole process requires leaning into fear and guilt?
This is the biggest misconception about confidence. People wait to feel confident before they act.
But it's the other way around.
It's the absolute last result. It's the byproduct of action. The secret gateway is to intentionally take on things that are uncomfortable. We call it building your discomfort tolerance.
How do you practically build? My instinct is to run away from discomfort.
You start small. We recommend exercises where you voluntarily confront it. The ice shower is a great physical example.
The cold shower.
Just for a minute. You voluntarily step into that sharp discomfort, and you prove to yourself you can handle it. You don't break. Socially, when you do speak up, you have to expect what we call the post-speak up freakout, the PSF.
And that's the voice in your head replaying it, telling you that you messed up.
Yes. And it feels like proof of failure, but you have to learn to interpret it accurately.
How so?
It is not proof you messed up. It is confirmation you took a risk.
Yeah.
It's your system's old safety police trying to pull you back. You have to see that panic as a sign of progress, not failure.
That's a huge mindset shift. So after all this, dismantling the rules, feeling the anger, tolerating the discomfort,
Right.
what's the ultimate goal? Where does this journey lead?
The ultimate goal is a shift, away from trying to be universally liked and toward a desire to be authentically known.
To be known.
To share your real self, your genuine opinions, your actual needs, rough edges and all. That is what leads to real intimacy and to self-respect.
And as a final thought for our listeners, what's the most profound realization we need to have about approval to really find that freedom?
It's recognizing that you have almost no control over whether people like you. I call it the magic number 62 concept.
Okay.
It's not a hard science, but it's a useful idea. No matter how charming or great you are, maybe 62% of people will like you and 38% just won't.
Yeah.
And it has very little to do with you.
It's about their own stuff, their own history and biases.
Entirely.
Yeah.
So since you can't control the outcome being liked, the only thing you actually can control is how fully and authentically you show up in the first place.
That is a profound perspective, taking the focus off the uncontrollable outcome and putting it squarely back on our own actions. Aziz, thank you for walking us through the ideas in Not Nice. This conversation gives our listeners a clear understanding of how to move beyond people-pleasing and live with more confidence and honesty.
Thank you, Sunny. I hope these ideas help your listeners express themselves more fully and build relationships rooted in respect and authenticity.
This has been Sunny's Mindset Lab. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.